My name is Nora Callahan, and I'm 34 years old. What happened at my stepfather's 50th birthday dinner still haunts me and vindicated me in ways I never imagined. Let me set the scene for you. I'm standing in the dining room of a Victorian house I just bought. 4 bedrooms, wraparound porch, magnolia trees in the garden. $850,000 paid in cash. My mother, Diane, is sitting at the head table in a navy dress I gave her 2 Christmases ago. My stepfather, Glenn, is holding a champagne glass. 25 guests, family and close friends, are watching as I hand him an envelope containing a single silver key and a handwritten note that says, "Welcome home." This house, I say, my voice shaking with emotion, is yours. Both of yours. I bought it. No mortgage. It's paid off. You don't owe anyone anything. There's silence. Then Glenn stands up. He looks at the key like it's contaminated. And he says something I will never forget. "Nora," he begins, his voice carrying across the room, "this is incredibly generous. But your mother and I have been talking. And we've decided that when we move into a new house, it should be one we choose together. One that feels like ours." I blink. "But, this is yours. I bought it for you." He raises his glass. To Nora, he announces, to everyone. Who has always been independent. Who's built a life for herself that doesn't need us. And honestly, that's probably for the best. Because while we appreciate the gesture, we've never really understood your world. The money. The work. The distance. You've always been different, Nora. And that's okay. But this house. It's not us. It's you trying to buy your way into a family you've never really been part of. And my mother pushes the key back across the table toward me. "Maybe you can sell it," she says quietly. "Or rent it out. I'm sure someone will love it." That moment, that single, devastating moment, changed everything. Before I tell you what I did next, welcome to Revenge with Alice. If you're new here, this channel is for people who've been overlooked, underestimated, and pushed aside by the people who were supposed to love them most. If that's you, you're in the right place. To my subscribers, thank you. Truly. You show up every single week, and that means the world to me. Let me say a quick prayer for you today. Heavenly Father, I lift up everyone watching this right now. Whatever burden they're carrying, whatever hurt they're nursing, whatever battle they're fighting, give them strength. Give them clarity. Give them peace. Remind them that their worth is not defined by people who refuse to see it. Protect their hearts, guide their steps, and surround them with love they don't have to earn. In Jesus' name, amen. Now, let's get into this story. If you've ever been the family scapegoat, the one who gives and gives until there's nothing left, drop a comment below. I read every single one. Let me take you back. Way back. To when I was 9 years old. That's when my father, Daniel Callahan, walked out. I remember it was a Tuesday. He was supposed to pick me up from school. I waited outside the building for 2 hours. My teacher finally called my mom, who showed up pale and shaking. She didn't say much on the drive home, just gripped the steering wheel so hard her knuckles turned white. When we got to the house, his closet was empty. His toothbrush was gone. The framed photo of the 3 of us at the beach gone. He left a note on the kitchen counter. 3 sentences. "I can't do this anymore. I'm sorry. Take care of Nora." That was it. No explanation. No forwarding address. No phone number. My mom cried for weeks. I tried to be good. I tried to be quiet. I tried not to need anything. 3 years later, when I was 12, Glenn showed up. He worked at the same hospital as my mom. She was a nurse, he was in insurance billing. He was polite. Steady. He fixed things around the house. He showed up when he said he would. He wasn't my dad, but he tried. And for a while, I thought we could be a family again. Then my brother Kyle was born. That's when everything shifted. Suddenly, my mom had a second chance. A baby with a man who stayed. A son she could raise from birth without the shadow of abandonment hanging over him, and I became background noise. Don't get me wrong, Glenn was decent to me. He drove me to college on move-in day. He co-signed my first car loan. He called me on my birthdays, but he was never my dad. He was Kyle's dad. And Kyle was the golden child, high school football star. Prom king. Married his high school sweetheart, Jenna, at 23. 2 kids by 27. A modest house in the suburbs. He was everything they wanted, and I was the other one. The one who worked with computers. The one who never married. The one who sent holiday cards late and missed family dinners because of work emergencies. The truth? I avoided them because every time I came home, I was reminded that my success didn't matter. Not to them, let me tell you what they didn't know. While Kyle was living his suburban dream, I was building an empire. I started in tech consulting right out of college. Entry-level analyst at a firm that paid barely enough to cover rent. I worked 60-hour weeks. I lived on ramen and ambition. I learned everything I could about systems architecture, data integration, cybersecurity. By the time I was 25, I'd been promoted twice. Why 27, I'd left to start my own firm, Apex Solutions. IT was just me at first. Me and a laptop in a studio apartment. But I had something most consultants didn't. I understood both the technical side and the business side. I could talk to engineers and executives in the same meeting and make both feel heard. Within 2 years, I had 5 employees. Within 4 years, I had 20. By the time I turned 30, Apex Solutions had landed a contract with a Fortune 100 client that changed everything. 60-hour weeks turned into 80. Cross-country flights became routine. Negotiations that made my pulse race and my bank account swelled. I wasn't just successful, I was untouchable, but my family didn't know any of that. To them, I was still Nora. The daughter who worked with computers. The one who never quite measured up. Here's what they did know, I had money, not because they asked how I earned it, but because they needed it. When Kyle's credit tanked after a bad investment, who co-signed his car loan? Me. When Glenn's hours got cut at the hospital and they couldn't make rent, who sent an emergency check? Me. When Kyle and Jenna wanted to take the kids to Disney but couldn't afford it, who quietly transferred $5,000 into their account? Me. When my mom needed dental work that insurance wouldn't cover, who paid the $9,000 bill? Me. Over 12 years, I gave them $127,000, not loans. Gifts. Because that's what family does, right? And every single time, they said thank you. They said they appreciated it. They said they'd pay me back. They never did, but I didn't care. Because I thought, foolishly, naively, that one day, they'd see me. Really see me, not as the ATM. Not as the backup plan. As Nora. The daughter. The sister. The person who loved them. Then came the phone call that changed everything. It was a Thursday in late April. I was in my Manhattan office reviewing contracts when my phone rang. "Hey, sweetie," my mom said. Her voice was bright, cheerful. "I wanted to ask you something." "Sure, Mom." "What's up?" "Glenn's 50th birthday is coming up in August. I was thinking we could do something special. Maybe a dinner at the house?" "Nothing fancy. Just family." I smiled. "That sounds great. I'm so glad you think so." She paused. "You'll come, right?" "I know you're always busy, but it would mean a lot to him." Something about her tone caught me off guard. Like she expected me to say no. "Of course I'll come," I said. "I wouldn't miss it." "Oh, wonderful." She sounded genuinely surprised. "I'll send you the details closer to the date." After we hung up, I sat at my desk for a long time. Glenn's 50th. An idea started forming. Slow at first. Then faster. What if I did something big? Something undeniable. Something that would prove, once and for all, that I wasn't just the family disappointment. That I was capable. That I was successful. That I loved them. What if I bought them a house? I started searching online that night. I knew exactly what I was looking for. My mom used to drive us through this one neighborhood when I was a kid. Victorian houses with wraparound porches, big front yards, old trees. She'd slow down and point at them. "One day, Nora," she'd say. "One day we'll live in a house like that." It became a Sunday ritual. Driving through that neighborhood, dreaming about one day, but one day never came until now. I found the listing on a Tuesday. 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, original hardwood floors, a wraparound porch, and a garden with magnolia trees. It was perfect. The asking price was $850,000. I made an all-cash offer the next day. The seller accepted within 24 hours. We closed in 2 weeks. I didn't tell anyone. Not my mom. Not Glenn. Not Kyle. This was going to be a surprise. Over the next 3 months, I worked with contractors to update the house. Nothing major, just fresh paint, refinished floors, updated appliances. I had a swing set installed in the backyard for Kyle's kids. I planted roses along the front walkway because my mom loved roses. Every detail was intentional, every choice was made with love. I hired a photographer to take pictures of the house once it was finished. I had them printed and framed. I planned to give my mom the photos along with the key. I imagined her reaction. The tears. The disbelief. The gratitude. I imagined Glenn shaking my hand, maybe even hugging me. I imagined Kyle finally seeing me as more than the weird older sister who worked too much. I imagined, for the first time in years, being part of the family. Not the helper. Not the backup. Not the ATM. Just part of it. The week before the dinner, I finalized the catering. I didn't use my own company. Apex Solutions didn't do events, and I wanted this to feel personal, not professional. I hired a local caterer and gave them specific instructions. Glenn's favorite meal: smoked brisket, garlic mashed potatoes, roasted Brussels sprouts, cornbread, pecan pie. Comfort food. The kind of meal that says, "I know you. I see you." I arranged for the dinner to be held at the house itself. I told my family it was a rented venue. I wanted somewhere special for Glenn's big day, I said when my mom asked. She seemed touched. "That's so sweet of you, Nora." Sweet. If only she knew. The night before the dinner, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, rehearsing what I'd say. "Glenn, you've been in my life for over 20 years. You stepped up when you didn't have to. You've been a father figure, a friend, and a rock for this family. So tonight, I wanted to give you something special." Then I'd hand him the envelope. The key. The note, and everything would change. If you've ever planned something big for people you love, hoping it would finally make them see you, type "I tried" in the comments below. Because what happened next wasn't just heartbreaking, it was the beginning of the end. August 14th. Glenn's 50th birthday. I arrived at the house at 3 in the afternoon. The caterers were already there, setting up in the kitchen. The dining room table was set with my mom's favorite china. I'd found the same pattern online and had it delivered. Everything was perfect. The house smelled like smoked brisket and fresh cornbread. The late afternoon sun filtered through the magnolia trees, casting soft shadows across the porch. I stood in the front yard for a moment, taking it all in. This was it. This was the moment everything would change. My mom and Glenn arrived at 5:30. I watched from the window as they pulled into the driveway. My mom stepped out wearing the navy dress I'd sent her 2 years ago. Glenn wore a sports coat I didn't recognize. They looked happy. Comfortable. I opened the front door before they could knock. "Welcome," I said, smiling so wide my cheeks hurt. My mom's eyes went wide as she stepped inside. "Nora, this place is beautiful. How did you find it?" "I have my ways," I said, trying to sound mysterious. Glenn clapped me on the shoulder. "Must have cost a fortune to rent for the night." I just smiled. "It's worth it. You only turn 50 once." Kyle and Jenna arrived 10 minutes later with their 2 kids, Mason, age 6, and Harper, age 4. Mason bolted for the backyard the second he saw the swing set through the window. "Can I go outside?" he asked, already halfway to the door. "Of course," I said. "That's why it's there." Jenna gave me a surprised look. They have a swing set at a rental house? I made a special request, I said. She smiled. That's really thoughtful, Nora. Thoughtful. If only she knew. We sat down to eat at 6. The conversation flowed easily. Kyle talked about his latest sales numbers. He worked in insurance, following in Glenn's footsteps. Jenna shared stories about the kids' school play. My mom kept glancing around the room, admiring the crown molding, the chandelier, the built-in bookshelves. This house, she murmured at one point. It's exactly what I always wanted. I squeezed her hand under the table. I know, Mom. Glenn raised his glass of iced tea. To family, he said. And to whoever's crazy enough to rent out a place this nice. Everyone laughed. I didn't. After dessert, pecan pie with vanilla ice cream, I stood up. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. I want to make a toast, I said, raising my glass. The room went quiet. Everyone turned to look at me. Glenn. I began, my voice shaking slightly. You've been in my life for over 20 years. You stepped up when you didn't have to. You've been a father figure, a friend, and a rock for this family. So tonight, I wanted to give you something special. I pulled an envelope from my purse and handed it to him. He opened it slowly, his brow furrowed. Inside were two things, a silver keychain with a single key, and a handwritten note that read, "Welcome home." My mom gasped. Nora, what is this? I took a deep breath. This house. It's yours. Both of yours. I bought it. No mortgage. It's paid off. You don't owe anyone anything. Silence, complete, suffocating silence. Then my mom started crying, but they weren't happy tears. And my mom wasn't crying happy tears, they were confused tears. Overwhelmed tears. The kind that come when something feels wrong, not right. She looked at Glenn, then at me, then back at Glenn. Nora, we can't accept this, Glenn said slowly, setting the key down on the table like it was burning his palm. I felt my stomach drop. What do you mean you can't accept it? It's already done. The deed is in your names. Both of you. Kyle's jaw dropped. Jenna whispered something under her breath that I couldn't quite hear. Glenn stood up. His face was flushed. He wouldn't meet my eyes. I need to say something, he announced to the room. That's when I knew. Deep in my gut, I knew this wasn't going to end the way I'd planned. Nora, he began, clearing his throat, this is incredibly generous. But your mother and I have been talking. And we've decided that when we move into a new house, it should be one we choose together. One that feels like ours. I blinked, trying to process his words. But, this is yours. I bought it for you. We know, my mom said softly, wiping her eyes. And it's beautiful, sweetheart. It really is. But Glenn and I have been looking at properties for months now. We've already put an offer on a place in Maplewood. It's smaller, but it's what we want. The room tilted. You've been house hunting? Since when? Since spring, Glenn said. We were going to tell you after my birthday. We didn't want to make a big announcement until everything was finalized. I turned to Kyle. He was staring down at his plate, avoiding my gaze. You knew? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. He shrugged without looking up. They mentioned it a few weeks ago, and no one told me. You're always busy, Nora, my mom said, her tone shifting to something defensive. We didn't want to bother you with the details. You have your own life. Glenn picked up his champagne glass. The one I'd carefully selected. The expensive kind, because I wanted tonight to be special, but since we're all here, he said, and since Nora's gone to so much trouble, I do want to make a toast. He raised his glass higher. Everyone else at the table followed suit, though the energy had shifted. The room felt cold now. Tense.to Nora, Glenn said, his voice carrying across the dining room. Who has always been independent. Who's built a life for herself that doesn't need us. And honestly? That's probably for the best. I felt my throat tighten, because while we appreciate the gesture, he continued, we've never really understood your world. The money. The work. The distance. You've always been different, Nora. And that's okay. But this house, he paused, looking directly at me for the first time. It's not us. It's you trying to buy your way into a family you've never really been part of. The words hit me like a physical blow. The room went dead silent. I felt the blood drain from my face. My hands started trembling. I gripped the edge of the table to steady myself. My mother didn't correct him. Kyle looked down at his plate. Jenna suddenly found her napkin fascinating. The kids were outside, thankfully, still playing on the swing set. Glenn set down his glass with a soft clink. So thank you. But we'll pass it. I stood there, frozen, as my mother reached across the table and gently pushed the key back toward me. Maybe you can sell it, she said quietly, her voice almost kind, like she was trying to soften the blow. Or rent it out. I'm sure someone will love it. I don't remember leaving the house. I don't remember getting into my car. I don't remember the drive back to my apartment in Manhattan. The next 3 days are a blur. I know I called in sick to work. I know I stayed in bed. I know I cried until there were no tears left, and then I just lay there, staring at the ceiling, replaying Glenn's words over and over. You've never really been part of this family. You're trying to buy your way in. We'll pass. On the 4th day, I finally opened my laptop. There was an email from my accountant, confirming the final transfer of funds for the house. Attached was a copy of the deed. My mother's name. Glenn's name. Both listed as co-owners. I stared at it for a long time. $850,000. Gone. Rejected. Thrown back in my face, but there was something else. A second attachment I hadn't noticed before. A PDF file labeled Document Review Tax Purposes. I clicked it open. It was a group text thread between my mother, Glenn, and Kyle. My accountant had forwarded it by mistake. It had been part of a larger document review he was doing for end-of-year tax filings. He'd accidentally included personal communications that had crossed his desk. I almost closed it. But something made me scroll down, and that's when I saw it. Glenn, Nora's insisting on this birthday dinner. Think she's going to make a big deal out of turning 50. Mom, probably. You know how she is. Always trying to prove something. Kyle, just let her do her thing. It'll be over in a few hours, Glenn, I heard from Rick at the bank. Nora's been asking about property loans in our area. Think she's planning something, Mom, oh God. I hope she's not trying to move back here. Kyle, she wouldn't. She hates it here. Glenn, if she tries to buy us a house or something ridiculous, we're saying no. I'm not living in some monument to her guilt. Mom, agreed. We've already found what we want. She doesn't get to swoop in and play savior. Kyle, what if she gets upset? Glenn, then she gets upset. She'll get over it. She always does. I read the thread 3 times, then I closed my laptop. I sat on my couch in complete silence for what felt like hours. They knew. They knew I was planning something. They knew I'd been asking about properties. And they'd decided, before I even made the offer, before I even bought the house, before I even handed them the key, that they were going to reject it. They planned the humiliation. Glenn's speech wasn't spontaneous. It was rehearsed. Calculated. Monument to her guilt. That's what he'd called it. As if my generosity was some twisted form of manipulation. As if loving them was a character flaw. And my mother had agreed. Kyle had agreed. They'd all agreed. She'll get over it. She always does. Something inside me shifted. It wasn't sadness anymore. It was rage. Cold, clear, focused rage. They thought I'd get over it. They thought I'd just swallow this humiliation and move on, like I always did. I opened my laptop again. This time, I wasn't reading. I was planning. The first thing I did was call my real estate attorney. Her name was Patricia Ruiz, and she'd handled the purchase of the Victorian house. She was sharp, no nonsense, and didn't ask questions she didn't need answers to. Patricia, it's Nora Callahan. Nora, hello. How did the big reveal go? I paused. Not well. I need the deed transferred back into my name. Solely my name. There was a brief silence on the other end. May I ask why? They rejected the gift. I see. Her tone shifted from friendly to professional. I can have the paperwork ready by end of business today. You'll need to sign in person. I'll be there in an hour. By 5 o'clock that afternoon, the house was mine again, not theirs. Not my mother's. Not Glenn's, mind. I sat in Patricia's office, staring at the updated deed. My name in black ink. Sole owner, what are you going to do with it? Patricia asked. I looked up. Rent it out. High-end rental. Fully furnished. Executive clientele, she nodded. Smart move. That neighborhood? You could get 6, maybe 7,000 a month. Listed at $6,500, I said. I want it rented within the week. Consider it done. The listing went live the next morning. By noon, I had 3 inquiries. By the end of the day, I had a signed lease with a young executive couple relocating from Boston. They loved the magnolia trees. They loved the wraparound porch. They loved everything about it. They moved in 2 weeks later. $6,500 a month. $78,000 a year, passive income from the house my mother said I should sell, but I wasn't done, not even close. That night, I pulled up every financial record I'd kept over the past 12 years. Every emergency check. Every loan I'd co-signed. Every family vacation I'd quietly funded. I made a spreadsheet. Kyle's car loan cosign, 2018 $34,000 emergency rent payments for Mom and Glenn, 2016 to 2022 $28,000 Kyle and Jenna's Disney trip, $25,000 Mom's dental work, 2019 $9,000 Kyle's credit card bailout, 2021 $12,000 family holiday expenses, 2015 to 2023 $24,000 Kyle's down payment on house, 2017 $15,000 total, $127,000 $127,000 over 12 years. Money I'd given freely. Money they'd promised to pay back. Money they never mentioned again. I calculated interest at 6% compounded annually. The total came to $149,780. I drafted a formal repayment plan. 36 monthly installments of $4,160. Then I had Patricia draw up legal documentation. 3 letters. 1 to my mother and Glenn. 1 to Kyle and Jenna. 1 to all of them collectively. The language was clear. Failure to comply will result in civil litigation. I sent them via certified mail. All 3 letters were delivered on a Thursday morning. By Thursday afternoon, my phone was exploding. 47 missed calls from my mother. 18 texts from Kyle. Kyle, what the hell is this? Kyle, you can't be serious, Kyle. This is insane, Kyle. We're family, Kyle. How can you do this to us? I didn't respond. Glenn left a voicemail. His voice was shaking. Nora, we need to talk about this ridiculous demand. You can't honestly expect us to pay you back for gifts. That's not how family works. Call me. Please, I deleted it. My mother left 6 voicemails. Each one more desperate than the last. Nora, honey, please pick up. Nora, this is cruel. Why are you doing this? Nora, we didn't mean to hurt you. Please talk to us. Nora, Glenn's beside himself. You're tearing this family apart. Nora, I'm begging you. Call me back. Nora, please. I'm your mother. I listened to each one. Then I blocked all 3 of their numbers. If you've ever cut off people who only valued you for what you could give them, type no more in the comments, because what I did next wasn't just about the money. It was about power, and I was just getting started. I didn't set out to destroy their careers, but I also didn't set out to protect them. Glenn worked at Hartman Insurance Group. He'd been there for 15 years, working his way up from billing clerk to regional account manager. It wasn't glamorous, but it was steady. Reliable. The thing about the insurance industry? It's small. Everyone knows everyone, and Apex Solutions? We consulted for 3 of the largest insurance conglomerates in the country, including Hartman's parent company. I made a phone call. David, it's Nora Callahan from Apex. David Mitchell was the VP of Operations at Meridian Holdings, the company that owned Hartman Insurance. Nora, good to hear from you. What can I do for you? I wanted to touch base about the efficiency audit your team requested last quarter. We're ready to move forward whenever you are. That's great news. We've been looking to streamline operations across our regional branches. Perfect. I'll have my team reach out to schedule the initial assessments. We'll start with your highest revenue branches and work our way down. Sounds good. Appreciate the follow-through, Nora. 2 weeks later, Apex Solutions conducted a full operational audit of Hartman Insurance's Connecticut branch. Glenn's branch. The findings were interesting. Inefficient workflows. Redundant positions. Overstaffed departments. Management was flagged for poor resource allocation. Glenn's division specifically, the recommendations were clear: restructure. Eliminate redundancies. Reduce overhead. Glenn's position was restructured. He wasn't fired. That would have been too obvious. He was demoted. His title changed from regional account manager to associate account specialist. His salary was cut by 30%. He never knew I was involved. To him, it was just bad luck. Corporate restructuring. Budget cuts, but I knew. And that was enough. Kyle was next. He worked at Henderson Financial Group, a mid-sized firm that sold insurance and investment products. He was decent at his job, good with people, bad with details, but he had one major flaw: he lied. Not about big things. Just small exaggerations. The kind that made him sound more important than he was, like telling clients he was connected to Apex Solutions, like implying we had some kind of family business arrangement. We didn't. I called Henderson's CEO, Richard Chin. Richard, it's Nora Callahan. I wanted to reach out about a potential consulting partnership. Nora, always good to hear from you. What did you have in mind? We're expanding our financial services consulting division. I thought Henderson might be a good fit for a pilot program. Low risk, high reward for both of us. I'm interested. Let's set up a meeting. Great. One quick question: do you have a Kyle Mercer on your team? Kyle Mercer, yeah, he's one of our sales reps. Why? He mentioned working for Henderson during a networking event. I wanted to make sure I had the right person before I brought him up in conversation. Sure, Kyle's been with us for about 5 years. Solid performer. I paused. Interesting. He told several people at that event that he was connected to Apex Solutions. Implied we had a family business relationship. Silence on the other end. We don't, I continued. I've never worked with Kyle professionally. In fact, I'd appreciate it if your team made it clear to clients that Henderson has no affiliation with Apex. Understood. I'll handle it. Kyle was written up the following week for misrepresenting company relationships, then he was placed on probation. His commission structure was changed. Instead of earning on every sale, he now had to meet quarterly benchmarks before receiving bonuses. His income dropped by 40%, and my mother, I didn't touch her directly. I didn't need to. Because when Glenn's salary dropped and Kyle's commissions dried up, suddenly they couldn't help her with bills anymore. Diane worked as a nurse, but she was 58. The long shifts were getting harder. Her back hurt. Her feet hurt. She'd been talking about cutting back her hours, but now she couldn't. Now she needed to pick up extra shifts just to cover the mortgage on their modest house, the house in Maplewood they'd been so excited about. The offer fell through and their financing didn't go through. Turns out, losing 30% of your household income makes banks nervous. 6 months passed. 6 months of silence from me. 6 months of calls, texts, and emails that I never answered. 6 months of watching from a distance as their lives slowly fell apart. I wasn't cruel about it. I didn't gloat. I didn't reach out to rub it in. I just existed. Without them, and that, it turned out, was the worst punishment of all. Life without my family was quiet, not lonely. Just quiet. I threw myself into work. Apex Solutions was thriving. We'd landed 2 more Fortune 500 contracts. I hired 15 new employees. We opened a second office in Boston. My days were full. Meetings, strategy sessions, client dinners, conference calls that stretched past midnight. I was busy, successful, fulfilled, and I didn't miss them, not the way I thought I would. What I missed was the fantasy. The idea of a family that loved me. The dream of belonging somewhere, but the reality? The reality had been exhausting, years of walking on eggshells. Years of making myself smaller so they could feel bigger. Years of giving and never receiving anything back except criticism and dismissal. I didn't miss that. My assistant, Rachel, noticed the change. You seem lighter, she said one afternoon as we reviewed quarterly reports. I looked up from my laptop. Lighter? Less stressed. You're smiling more. She hesitated. Did something happen? I thought about it. I cut some people out of my life. Good for you, she said without missing a beat. Toxic people drain you, even when you don't realize it. Especially family. I nodded. Especially family. It was late November when my mother left the voicemail that changed things. I almost didn't listen to it. Her number was blocked, but she called from a different phone. The hospital, probably. Her voice was small. Broken. Nora, please. I know you don't want to talk to me. I understand why. But we need help. Glenn lost his job. Kyle's barely making rent. I'm working doubles at the hospital and my back is killing me. I don't know what to do anymore. A pause. The sound of her breathing. I'm not asking for money. I know you won't give it. I need to talk to you. Please. I'm your mother. Please call me back. I deleted the voicemail, but I didn't feel victorious. I didn't feel vindicated. I felt nothing. A week later, security called me at work. Ms. Callahan, there's a man in the lobby claiming to be your stepfather. My stomach tightened. What does he want? He says it's an emergency. He's asking for just 5 minutes of your time. I looked at the clock. It was 2 in the afternoon. I had a meeting in 30 minutes, tell him I'm unavailable. He says he'll wait. I closed my eyes. Part of me wanted to ignore him. Let him sit in that lobby until security escorted him out. But another part of me, the part that still remembered him driving me to college, fixing my car, calling on my birthdays, couldn't do it. I'll be down in 5 minutes. Glenn was sitting on one of the leather couches in the lobby when I stepped off the elevator. He looked older than I remembered. Thinner. His hair had more gray. His sports coat, the same one from the birthday dinner, was worn at the elbows. He stood when he saw me. Nora, he said. His voice cracked. Thank you for coming down. I crossed my arms. You have 3 minutes. I'm sorry, he said immediately. For what I said. For what I did. We were wrong. All of us. You gave us something incredible and we threw it in your face. I said nothing. I know you're angry, he continued. You have every right to be. But your mother is falling apart. Kyle's marriage is on the rocks. I lost my job, Nora. I don't know how it happened, but one day I had a career and the next I was demoted and then let go entirely. He looked at me, searching my face for something. Sympathy, maybe. Understanding. He wouldn't find it. We need help, he said quietly. We need you. I let the silence stretch between us. Let him feel the weight of it, then I spoke. The house I bought you? The one you rejected? It's worth $940,000 now. Market's been strong. I'm making $78,000 a year in rental income from it. His face went pale. I could sell it tomorrow, I continued, my voice calm, and walk away with over $1 million in profit. Nora, but I won't. Because every month, when I deposit that rent check, I'm reminded that I don't need you. I don't need your approval. I don't need your validation. I built something you couldn't even comprehend. And you called me different like it was an insult I didn't mean. Yes, you did. My voice was sharp now. You meant every word. You thought I was trying to buy my way into a family I was never part of. So I stopped trying. And you know what I learned? He didn't answer. I learned that I don't need to be part of your family. I have my own life. My own success. My own people who actually see me. Nora, please. I'm not bailing you out, I said. Not this time. Not ever again. You made your choice at that dinner table. You rejected me. Now live with it. I turned and walked back to the elevator. Glenn called after me. Nora, wait, I didn't turn around. The elevator doors closed, and I went back to work. That night, I got a text from Kyle. It came from a number I didn't recognize. He must have gotten a new phone, or borrowed someone else's. Unknown, Mom told me Glenn went to see you. Said you wouldn't help. I don't blame you. But I need you to know something. I stared at the message. I should have blocked the number immediately. But I didn't. Unknown, I've been going to therapy. Jenna insisted after everything fell apart. The therapist helped me see things I didn't want to see. Another message came through. Unknown, you were the scapegoat. I was the golden child. Both of us got screwed, just in different ways. I know that doesn't make up for what I did. For what I didn't say when Glenn gave that toast. But I'm sorry. Really sorry. I typed a response. I appreciate your honesty. But an apology doesn't erase 12 years of being invisible. Unknown, I know. I don't expect you to forgive me. I just wanted you to know that I see it now. I see what they did to you. What we all did. Me, then do better with your own kids. Break the cycle. Unknown, I will. I promised. I blocked the number, not out of anger. Out of necessity. Because Kyle's apology, genuine as it might have been, didn't change anything. The damage was done. 3 weeks before Christmas, my mother showed up at my apartment building. I was coming home from a client dinner around 9 at night when the doorman stopped me. Ms. Callahan, there's a woman who's been waiting for you. Says she's your mother. My stomach dropped. How long has she been here? About 2 hours. I could have turned around. Gone to a hotel. Avoided the confrontation entirely, but I was tired of running. Sent her up. When I opened my apartment door, my mother was standing in the hallway. She looked exhausted. Her nurse's scrubs were wrinkled. Her hair, usually neat, was pulled back in a messy bun. She'd been crying. Nora, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Thank you for seeing me. I didn't invite her in. I just stood in the doorway, one hand on the frame. You have 10 minutes, I said. She nodded. I brought you something. She pulled a handwritten letter from her purse and held it out to me. I didn't take it. I wrote down everything I wanted to say, she continued. Because I knew if I tried to say it out loud, I'd mess it up. I always mess things up with you. Mom, please, she interrupted. Just let me say this. Let me get it out. I stepped back slightly, gesturing for her to come inside. She walked in slowly, like she was afraid I'd change my mind. We sat in my living room. Her on the couch. Me in the chair across from her. She clutched the letter in her hands but didn't read from it. Instead, she looked directly at me. I failed you, she said. As a mother. As a person. I failed you in every way that matters. I said nothing. When your father left, I was terrified. Terrified of being alone. Terrified of not being enough. And when Glenn came into my life, I clung to him like he was a life raft. And when Kyle was born, I saw it as a second chance. A chance to do things right. And I was the mistake you were trying to fix, I said quietly. She flinched. No. That's not, she stopped herself. Actually, maybe. Maybe that's how I treated you. Like you were a reminder of everything that went wrong. And that wasn't fair. No, it wasn't. When you bought us that house, she continued, her voice breaking, I panicked. Because it was so big. So generous. And I didn't know how to accept it. Glenn didn't know how to accept it. We'd already decided on Maplewood because it felt manageable. Safe. And then you came in with this grand gesture and it felt overwhelming. So you humiliated me instead. She nodded, tears streaming down her face. Yes. And I hate myself for it. Glenn's words at that dinner, I should have stopped him. I should have stood up for you. But I didn't. Because it was easier to let him say what we were all thinking. That I don't belong. That we don't deserve you, she corrected. That's what we were really thinking. That someone as successful and independent as you doesn't need a family like us. So we pushed you away before you could leave on your own. I leaned back in my chair. That's a convenient way to reframe rejection. It's the truth, she insisted. A cowardly, selfish truth. But the truth. We sat in silence for a long moment. Finally, I spoke. Do you know what the hardest part was? She shook her head. It wasn't the rejection. It wasn't even Glenn's speech. It was the text messages. Her brow furrowed. What text messages? The ones between you, Glenn, and Kyle. The ones where you planned the whole thing. Where you decided in advance that you'd reject whatever I was planning. Where Glenn called my gift a monument to my guilt. Her face went white. How did you? My accountant forwarded them by mistake. They were part of a document review. She closed her eyes. Nora, You knew I was planning something, I continued. You knew I wanted to do something special for Glenn's birthday. And instead of telling me you'd already made other plans, you let me go through with it. You let me spend $850,000. You let me plan this entire evening. And then you humiliated me in front of the whole family. I'm so sorry, she whispered. Sorry doesn't give me back the years I spent trying to earn your approval. Sorry doesn't give me back the money I gave you that you'll never pay back. Sorry doesn't undo Glenn's words or Kyle's silence or your complicity. She was sobbing now. Full, body-shaking sobs. What do you want from me? I asked. Why did you really come here? She looked up, her face streaked with tears. I don't want anything. I came to tell you that I see you now. I see what you've built. I see who you are. And I'm proud of you. Even if I have no right to be. You're right, I said. You don't. She stood to leave, setting the letter on the coffee table. I won't bother you again, she said. But if you ever want to talk, I'm here. Not as someone who deserves your time. Just as someone who loves you. Even though I've done a terrible job of showing it. I walked her to the door. Before she left, she turned back. The house in Maplewood fell through. We couldn't get financing after Glenn lost his job. We're renting a 2-bedroom apartment now. It's small. But it's enough. I nodded. Good. She hesitated, then walked out. I closed the door and locked it. Then I picked up the letter she'd left behind. I didn't read it that night. Or the next day. It sat on my coffee table for 2 weeks, unopened. Finally, on a quiet Sunday morning, I made myself coffee and sat down to read it. The handwriting was shaky. Emotional. Dear Nora, I don't know how to make this right. I don't know if I can. But I need you to know that every mistake I made with you haunts me. Every time I dismissed your success. Every time I compared you to Kyle. Every time I made you feel invisible. You were never the problem. I was. I was so afraid of being abandoned again that I pushed away the one person who never left. You stayed. You helped. You loved us even when we didn't deserve it. And we repaid you with cruelty. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't even know if I deserve the chance to ask for it. But I want you to know that you were always enough. More than enough. It was me who wasn't. I love you, Nora. I'm so sorry I didn't show you that when it mattered, Mom. I folded the letter and put it in a drawer, not because I forgave her, but because I wanted to remember that even people who hurt you can recognize the harm they've caused. It didn't change anything, but it was something. 1 year after the birthday dinner, I made a decision. I was going to sell the rental property. But not to a stranger. To myself. It sounds strange, but there was a legal and financial reason for it. By selling the property to an LLC I owned, I could reset the property taxes and depreciation schedule. It was a smart business move, but it was also symbolic. The house my mother rejected? The house Glenn called a monument to my guilt. I was moving into it. The tenant's lease ended in March. By April, I'd hired movers and started packing up my Manhattan apartment. Rachel thought I was insane. You're leaving the city? She asked, incredulous. For Connecticut? For peace, I corrected. And it's only an hour by train. I can still come into the office 3 days a week, but why that house? After everything that happened? I smiled. Because it's mine. I bought it. I renovated it. I chose every detail. And I'm not letting their rejection take that away from me. She nodded slowly. I get it. You're reclaiming it. Exactly. Moving day was a Saturday in late April. The weather was perfect. Sunny, warm, a light breeze that made the magnolia trees sway gently. I stood on the wraparound porch with my coffee, watching the movers unload boxes. This house, the one I'd bought out of love and had thrown back at me, was finally, truly mine. Not as a rental property, not as a rejected gift. As my home. I set up my office in the front bedroom with the bay windows. I could see the street from there, watch the neighbors walk their dogs, see the seasons change. The kitchen became my favorite room. I'd always loved cooking, but in my Manhattan apartment, the kitchen had been tiny. Here, I had space. Light. Room to breathe. I started hosting dinners. Not for family. For friends. Colleagues. People who valued me. Rachel came over one weekend and helped me plant roses along the front walkway. Your mom would have loved this, she said without thinking. I paused, trowel in hand. She would have. But she chose not to. Rachel looked at me. Does that still hurt? Sometimes, I admitted. But less than it used to. Life in the house was peaceful. I worked from home 2 days a week. The commute to the city was easy when I needed to go in. I joined a local book club. Started running in the mornings. I wasn't lonely. I was whole. On the 1-year anniversary of moving in, I did something I hadn't planned. I drove to my mother's apartment. Not to reconcile. Not to forgive, just to see. She was getting into her car when I pulled up. She looked older. Tired. But stable. She saw me and froze. I rolled down my window. Hi, Mom. Nora. Her voice was cautious. Hopeful. What are you doing here? I wanted you to know something, I said. I'm living in the house now. The one you rejected. And I'm happy there. She nodded slowly, tears forming in her eyes. I'm glad. You deserve to be happy. Did I do? I agreed. And I am. Without you. It wasn't said cruelly. Just honestly. She wiped her eyes. I understand. I put the car in drive. Take care of yourself, Mom. And I left, not with anger. Not with bitterness. With closure. It was a Tuesday afternoon in October, almost 2 years after the birthday dinner, when someone knocked on my door. I wasn't expecting anyone. Rachel was in Boston for a conference. My book club met on Thursdays. The grocery delivery wasn't scheduled until tomorrow. I opened the door to find Kyle standing on my porch. He looked different. Cleaner somehow. His hair was cut shorter. He'd lost weight. He was wearing jeans and a plain button-down shirt, not the flashy polos he used to favor. "Hi, Nora," he said quietly. I didn't slam the door in his face, though part of me wanted to. "What are you doing here?" I asked. "I wanted to see you. Talk to you. If you'll let me." I crossed my arms. "How did you find my address?" I didn't. I was driving through the neighborhood and recognized the house. From the photos Mom showed me before everything happened. I studied his face. He wasn't lying. "You have 15 minutes, I said, stepping aside. We sat in the living room. The same room where I'd planned to celebrate Glenn's birthday. The same room where everything fell apart. Kyle looked around, taking it all in. "You really did it. You're living here." "Yes. It's beautiful, Nora. Really beautiful, thank you. He was quiet for a moment, gathering his thoughts. "Jenna and I got divorced." I felt a small pang of surprise. "I'm sorry to hear that. Don't be. It was a long time coming. Turns out when your entire marriage is built on keeping up appearances, losing your income kind of destroys the foundation." He laughed bitterly. "She got custody of the kids. I see them every other weekend. That must be hard." It is. But it's also given me time to work on myself. I'm in therapy twice a week now. I got a new job, nothing fancy, just sales at a small firm. But it's honest work. No more lying about connections I don't have. I nodded. "I know you don't owe me anything," he continued. "I know I was complicit in everything that happened. I sat there at that dinner and said nothing while Glenn humiliated you. I knew about the house hunting and didn't tell you. I took your money for years and never once thanked you properly. Why are you here, Kyle?" He looked directly at me. "Because I wanted to tell you that you were right. About everything. About us using you. About the family being toxic. About me being a coward. Okay, and I wanted to tell you that I'm proud of you. For cutting us off. For standing up for yourself. For building this life without us." His words hung in the air between us. "I don't need your approval," I said finally. "I know. But I wanted to give it anyway. Not because you need it. Because you deserve to hear it." We talked for another hour. He told me about his kids. Mason was 8 now, Harper was 6. He showed me pictures on his phone. They looked happy, which was more than I could say for most of the adults in this family. He told me about his therapy sessions, how the therapist had helped him understand the golden child dynamic, how damaging it had been for both of us. "I got everything I wanted growing up," he said. "But I never learned how to work for anything. Never learned resilience. So when things got hard, I crumbled. You got nothing, so you learned how to build everything yourself. In a twisted way, they did you a favor by ignoring you. That's one way to look at it," I said dryly. He smiled slightly. "I'm not saying it was right. Just that you turned out better than any of us." Before he left, he asked me one question. "Do you think you'll ever forgive them? Mom and Glenn?" I thought about it carefully. I don't know. Forgiveness isn't something I owe anyone. It's something I might give myself one day, if holding on to this anger starts to hurt more than letting it go. But right now, I'm fine carrying it. He nodded. "That's fair. What about you?" I asked. "Have you forgiven them?" "I'm working on it. It's complicated when they're still in your life, then maybe you need to do what I did. Cut them off, create distance. Set boundaries. Stop letting them define who you are. He stood to leave. Maybe I will. At the door, he turned back. For what it's worth, Nora, I'm sorry. Really, truly sorry. I believe you, I said. But sorry doesn't fix anything, I know. After he left, I sat on the porch for a long time, watching the sunset through the magnolia trees. Kyle's visit hadn't changed anything. But it had confirmed something I'd suspected for a while. I was doing better without them than they were doing without me. 3 years after the birthday dinner, my life looked nothing like what my family had imagined for me. Apex Solutions had grown exponentially. We now had offices in 4 cities and over 200 employees. I'd been featured in 3 major business publications. Forbes had reached out about a profile, but more than the professional success, I'd built a personal life that actually fulfilled me. I had friends who showed up for me. Rachel had become one of my closest confidants. We took trips together, hosted dinner parties, supported each other through breakups and breakthroughs. I'd started dating someone, a software engineer named Grant who worked for one of our client companies. He was kind, brilliant, and didn't care about my money. He cared about my mind. When I told him about my family, about the birthday dinner and everything that followed, he'd said something that stuck with me. They didn't reject you, Nora. They rejected the mirror you held up to their own inadequacy. And that says everything about them and nothing about you. The house became exactly what I'd hoped it would be. A sanctuary. A place where I could be completely myself. I hosted Thanksgiving there that year. Not with family. With friends. With people who chose to be in my life, not people who were obligated by blood. Rachel brought her partner. Grant brought wine. My friend Simone from book club brought her famous apple pie. We filled the dining room with laughter and stories and gratitude. It was the best Thanksgiving I'd ever had. On Christmas Eve, I received a card in the mail. The return address was my mother's apartment. Inside was a simple message. Thinking of you today. Hope you're well. Mom. No request for reconciliation. No guilt trip. Just acknowledgement that I existed. I put the card on my mantle, not because I was ready to forgive, but because it was proof that I could receive their words without letting them control my emotions. For years after the birthday dinner, I got a call from Patricia, my real estate attorney. Nora, I have interesting news. The couple renting the Maplewood property your mother's landlord owns, they defaulted on their lease. The property's going into foreclosure. It's being sold at auction next month. I sat up straighter. The Maplewood property? The one my mother and Glenn wanted, the very same. A wild idea formed in my mind. What's the estimated auction price? Probably around $450,000. It needs work. It's been neglected. Buy it, I said. Excuse me, buy it at auction. On my behalf. Whatever it takes. Patricia was quiet for a moment. May I ask why? Because I want to own the house they chose over mine. And then I'm going to renovate it and sell it for profit. Or maybe I'll just let it sit empty. I haven't decided yet. She laughed. That's deliciously petty. I prefer strategically symbolic. Consider it done. I won the auction at $460,000. The house was exactly as my mother had described it. Smaller. Modest. Safe. I hired contractors. Spent another $100,000 on renovations. Turned it into something beautiful. Then I listed it for sale at $675,000. It sold in 3 weeks. I made a profit of $115,000. On the house they'd wanted instead of the one I'd given them. I never told my mother I'd bought it. She found out anyway. Kyle mentioned it to her during one of their weekly phone calls. He'd seen the listing online and recognized the address. She called me for the first time in 2 years. I answered. Nora, she said, her voice thick with emotion. Kyle told me about the Maplewood house. What about it? You bought it. Renovated it. Sold it, yes. Why? I thought about lying. Thought about saying it was just a good investment opportunity, but I decided on honesty instead. Because I wanted to prove that everything you chose over me, I could do better. That house was supposed to be your dream. Your safe choice. And I made it more beautiful, more valuable, more successful than it ever would have been with you in it. Silence on the other end, just like I did with my own life, I continued. You chose the safe option. The manageable option. The option that didn't challenge you. And look where it got you. Divorced from Glenn. Wait, how did you know? Kyle told me. Glenn left you 8 months ago for someone younger. Someone who doesn't remind him of his failures. She was crying now. I'm not telling you this to be cruel, Mom. I'm telling you because you need to understand something. The life you rejected? The daughter you pushed away? We're both thriving without you. And that's not my fault. It's yours. I know, she whispered. Good. Now you know how it feels to be rejected. I hung up. 5 years after the birthday dinner, I hosted a party, not at the Victorian house. That was still my private sanctuary. At a venue in downtown Manhattan. A celebration of Apex Solutions' 10th anniversary. 200 guests. Clients, employees, friends, industry leaders. Rachel gave a speech about the company's growth. Grant stood beside me, my partner in life and in support. Halfway through the evening, I looked around the room and realized something. This was my family now, these people who showed up. Who celebrated my wins. Who supported me through challenges. Who saw me, really saw me, and valued what they saw. Blood didn't make them family, choice did. I never reconciled with my mother. Glenn remarried and moved to Florida. I heard through Kyle that he was happy. Kyle and I maintained a distant but respectful relationship. We exchanged emails on birthdays. He sent pictures of his kids occasionally. I sent brief responses. It wasn't warmth. But it wasn't hostility either. It was acceptance of reality. The Victorian house remained my home. Every morning, I sat on the wraparound porch with my coffee, watching the sunrise through the magnolia trees, the house my mother said wasn't her style, the house Glenn called a monument to my guilt. They were right about one thing, it was a monument. But not to guilt. To resilience. To independence. To the unshakable truth that you don't need people who don't need you. If you've ever been rejected by the people who should have loved you most, know this, their rejection is not a reflection of your worth. It's a reflection of their capacity. You are not too much. You are not too little. You are not too different. You are exactly who you're supposed to be. Build your own monument. Live in it proudly. Alone if you have to, because some families don't deserve a place at your table, and that's okay. You'll build a better table without them. Thank you for listening to my story. If you've ever had to choose yourself over toxic family, type I chose me in the comments below. Share this with someone who needs to hear that their worth is not determined by people who refuse to see it. Subscribe to Revenge with Alice for more stories about people who refuse to stay small, who set boundaries, and who build extraordinary lives on their own terms. Hit that notification bell so you never miss a story about justice, resilience, and self-respect. Where are you watching from? Drop your city and country below. I love connecting with people who understand that sometimes the best revenge is simply living well, and remember, you don't owe anyone your success. You don't owe anyone your forgiveness. You don't owe anyone your peace. Keep what's yours, protect what matters. And never, ever let someone else's rejection define your worth. Until next time, this is Nora reminding you, build your monument and live in it. Because you've earned it.